Okay, hi Thomas. I'm using this new system of drafting and I think it's hopefully more useful. I've had a look through your draft. What I've tended to do is highlight a few editing or spelling mistakes in red, but I'm not going to do that all the way through because that's your responsibility. And ideas or expression or areas that I want you to look at in yellow. First thing I need to say is you need a header. You need your SACE number and you need the title. So make that into a header. Now, I've kind of surprised. I think we didn't have time to. You went off on your own to choose these advertisements, and what I've realised now is that neither of them really use a lot of language, but there's plenty to talk about visually. You just got to. I think this should be millennia, not millenniums, and both encompass the watch boldly to the viewer. We talked about that in class, Thomas, so I don't know why you've left it in. I said that's the kind of editing that you need to change. I don't know what it means. What they both do is highlight or foreground the product to the target audience or the consumer. Purpose. Now, again, your headings are out of logical sequence, which was very clearly on the task sheet. You should start with form. So it should be form, purpose, target audience, social context, and then you're going to put together visual elements and language features under one heading because there's so little to write about the language features. So again, just change that so that it follows that logical structure. When you analyze the purpose, again, you need to just be very clear that you understand that the purpose of advertising is to persuade or to build a desire within the target audience to wish to purchase the product, and that the creators of advertisements often do this through building on or creating an emotional connection which targets desires or values that we have. And you need to say what you think those desires or values are in the case of these advertisements. So you do say about making an emotional impact, but what you need to do throughout your task, Thomas, is you need to make sure that you are addressing those criteria. KU2, knowledge and understanding of the ways in which creators of text, so in this case, you're going to be talking about the advertising creators or the designers or the advertisers or the creators of the advertisements, and how they use a range of stylistic features and conventions to make meaning. What you also need to do is analyze how that is reinforcing the key message, the key emotional connection with the audience. That's KU3, and also that it's all about different purposes. So this is for the purpose of persuasion and the different audiences and the different contexts. So that's what you're addressing in form, purpose, and audience and social context. You need to make sure that you're analysing these stylistic features, which you're not doing very much now, and how they influence audiences. And then you need to put a little bit more comparative language throughout of the similarities and differences. I did say in class that I thought they were a little bit too similar. I still think that, but you can still weave that comparative language in because there are still enough differences to analyse. So you need to go back to the handout of what desire or value do you think these advertisements are building an interest or desire for? Is it power and status? Is it sex appeal? I think it's, or luxury. It can be a combination of those three, but you're going to need to go back and work those out. Language features. Now, again, there aren't any language features. It's just all there is timepieces and jewelry. But why is that? That's a conscious decision, Thomas. Show your understanding of that. Is it because the creators or the brand wants the brand to speak for itself? Is it the height of sophistication, which is what these products are about, that you don't need a slogan? Would a slogan be tacky in this situation? Would any kind of language detract from that core message? And I think that's what you need to show your understanding of. Very simply put, first one, timepieces. Second one, timepieces and jewelry. So what that is doing is that there's nothing that takes away from the positioning and the font and the reinforcement of that name, Gucci. And is the idea of Gucci that it needs no explanation? I think that's kind of what is being conveyed here, but you haven't actually shown your understanding of that. So, as I suggested, you're going to need to combine language features with visual elements, because there's a little bit to write about language features, but you've still got to talk about them, as I've just explained. And then you've gone on a bit here to talk about visual elements. But again, you've got to use the technical language. It's not the use of attractive people. It's the use of beauty, and it's the beauty and social standing, and how advertisers use people who have who reflect society's ideals of beauty, or in this case, with the sort of aspirations of the product, to make the product appear more attractive and to make that emotional connection with their target audience. So you need to be making sure that it's using teal. Topic sentence. The creators of the modern advertisement have used a model who epitomizes or who reflects society's and the product's the society's ideals of beauty. And how is that creating that connection with the product? We did talk about it a little bit. So if you're going to don't talk about the person, talk about the target audience, or the consumer, or the viewer of the advertisement. So you have used some language of comparison here, which is good. So the main difference is how in the later advertisement they really have focused on the use of beauty and social standing, whereas the first one they're just highlighting it on a setting of a rock. You need to talk about the setting. You need to go back to that elements of visual language handout. You need to talk about how the creators of the advertisements have used color and lighting, layout and graphics. So the graphics are in the brand, but the layout in this one, the name of the brand is the very first thing. It's in the top third of the A4 ad. In this advertisement, it's a different layout, isn't it? Well, one is portrait and one is landscape. And what's being used here? Camera shots and angles again, but this is it's not a close-up, so it's a mid-shot, because you can see her shoulders, and you have to talk about the positioning of the body, how the creators of the advertisement have positioned her hand in a particular way. The advertisers have used the model's body language to create a sensual or luxurious or I think it's sensual mood, which creates enticing connotations of what sex appeal, luxury in the viewer's mind. Go back to the very first week that we started this task, Thomas. In Sector, there's a document called Read Me, and it's got language analysis examples, and I've just read out directly from it. I put it there to help the students use it in their analysis, and no one has. So you need to go back and you need to be structuring this using Teal, using your language of comparison, and using the technical language to show your understanding of the conventions of advertising. So you've got quite a lot of work to do. Your conclusion is okay. Again, I think you need to you need to pick out, like you would with any essay. So a bit repetitive. Inclusion, both advertisements effectively or skillfully use the conventions of advertising in order to fulfill their purpose and create an emotional connection with their target audience. However, the modern advertisement is the more effective, but show your understanding that might be because you are more from the modern era, so you're used to, you relate better to these to this high definition, digitally enhanced photography. This is show your understanding of the difference and how techniques and technological advances have improved the quality. But you need to show understanding that this advertisement at the time would have been the height of sophistication. I think it's interesting to note that the green and yellow, those were the signature brand colours of Gucci, but I think over the years they've moved away from that. So it's interesting to note that in this advertisement, they don't have the green. And again, look how the actual product has changed. And one of the key differences is that it's not just a watch, it's jewelry as well. So that's brand development. Look at the lighting and how she's been highlighted. Look at this use of black. Look at the costume is black. The background is shaded grey, and her hair is glossy and black. Look at the use of eye contact, how she's looking directly at the viewer. Which immediately captures our attention, and she's looking in this sort of sensual way, which works on both men and women. So I think you're right, they both are aimed at both men and women, but you need to be a bit more sophisticated in the language that you're using. So Thomas, you've got a bit of work to do, and happy drafting.